aggression and pro-social behavior. So both hurting others and helping others. Hurting others is the aggressive part, helping others is the pro-social part. So aggression and pro-social behavior, hurting and helping others. Aggression, definition-wise, it's an intentional injury of or harm to another person. The aggression that we encounter in our daily lives can take many forms, both direct and indirect forms. Whenever we talk about microaggressions, they're small daily slights or put downs or insults. They're often perpetuated against members of a marginalized group that is based on race, gender, and sexual orientation. As microaggressions. Imagine that you have those every day based on your sexuality, or based on your race, or based on your religion, based on, your political affiliation. That has been very big in the past couple of years. You have those constant put downs. Those can really build up over time. They may seem small, but if they keep occurring, they can build up on the person. Sometimes people are not even aware of what aggression is. So you may want to look at these questions and determine whether or not this is considered aggression. So you can read through those and determine whether or not you think those are aggression or whether they are not aggression. Let's think about the instinct approaches. Aggression as a release. Whenever we talk about instincts, we're talking about things that you're not necessarily aware of, things that you are not in control of. It's instinctual. It just automatically occurs. So instinct theories propose that aggression is primarily the outcome of innate or inborn urges. You are born with them. They're built into who you are. That's what instinct theory proposes about aggression. Konrad Lorenz was an ethologist who argued that aggression initially ensures protection of food supplies and weeds out the weaker of the species. You have to be aggressive with other members, let's say, of your species because there's only a limited amount of food. And let's say, you have to fight in order to get what is available. And that then is weeding out the weaker. It sounds very similar, right, to survival of the fittest, which is what Charles Darwin had proposed. When you have a cathartic moment or catharsis, this is the process of discharging all of that build-up aggression, right? Whenever we were just talking about those microaggressions, where every day you are insulted or you're put down or you're kept from something, just the littlest slight of an insult that may not even seem like that big of a deal to the person who is doing it, but the person on the receiving end, it's definitely felt. Until one day you've had enough and you've reached this cathartic moment, which is a discharge of all this built-up aggressive energy. Whenever we look at the brain, the work on the neutral circuitry of the brain does suggest that particular parts of the brain may be involved with aggressive behavior. So this is not too surprising. There may be parts of the brain that are involved in aggressive behavior. We want to bring frustration into the conversation. Frustration, aggression approaches. This is aggression as a reaction to being frustrated, right? Again, back to those microaggressions. They build up over time and you're so frustrated. So you're aggressive as a result of that frustration. So the frustration aggressive approach explains how frustration produces anger, which in turn produces a readiness to act aggressively. Frustration aggression approaches explain how frustration produces anger, which in turn then produces a readiness to act aggressively. Whether or not actual aggression occurs depends on the presence of aggressive cues. Those could be stimuli that are associated in the past with actual aggression or violence. However, frustration is not the only trigger for aggression. There is also physical pain, verbal insults, and unpleasant experiences that can also lead to aggression. Physical pain, verbal insults, and unpleasant experiences can also lead to an aggressive behavior. What's really interesting is you would have to almost live under a rock to not hear about global warming in the past years, right? The past couple of years, how global warming is occurring. What's really interesting is the research has shown us that violent behavior increases excuse me, when the temperature rises. And there is this significant implication with regards to global warming. We have seen an increase in violence, an increase in aggressive behavior. Could this be caused by an increase in temperature, or is there just a correlation with that? Remember, correlation does not mean causation. Just because two things are related does not mean the one caused the other. But I do think we have to open our eyes and think critically about it. Could that be a possible reason for the increase in aggression? We also look at observational learning approaches, how we learn to be aggressive, how we learn to hurt other people. Sometimes observational learning theory suggests that social and environmental conditions can teach individuals to be aggressive. They can teach individuals to be aggressive. People learn to be aggressive by viewing the rewards and punishments that models provide. Those models that we're talking about are individuals who provide a guide to inappropriate behavior through their own behavior. So people learn to be aggressive by viewing the rewards and punishments that the models provide. Those models are the individuals who provide a guide to appropriate behavior through their own behavior. So we learn aggression sometimes by living aggression or observing aggression. We see this in a lot of domestic abuse cases or child abuse cases, where children learn abuse by watching their parents in an abusive relationship, and then they tend to be in an abusive relationship once they get older. Now, the other side of this, if you remember, right, that Module 55 was not only about hurting others, but it was also about helping others. There was the aggression and the pro-social behavior.